Here we are guys, another video about how to self-film your hunts. First and foremost, I'd like to make a correction on my self-filming 101 video where I said this: unless your head's perfectly still, you're going to have shaky footage. At the time of making that video I was using the GoPro Hero 7 white, but now that I've started using the GoPro Hero 11 black, the video stabilization from the Hypersmooth 5.0 is just unbelievable, even on your head, so yeah, go for it. In this video I'm going to be showing you what I do to secure good footage. A lot of people have different ways of doing things that work too, and that's all good, but I can only show you what I know and what works for me. A lot of hunting videos put their prime focus on the kill shot, whereas I like to tell the entire story of the hunt. So footage of hiking, stalking and scenery I think are important to convey that story. I'll quickly run through the cameras I generally carry with me and use on a hunt. Currently I run a Panasonic VX1 4K hand cam with a Rode external microphone on top, with a Rode dead cat over the top of the microphone just to eliminate some of the wind noise. I run a GoPro Hero 11 black, a GoPro Max and two older GoPro cameras, being the GoPro Hero 7 white and a GoPro Hero 3 black. Something to keep in mind with older cameras is they generally don't have the features, quality or stabilization of their newer counterparts. Also, I'll quickly give you a rundown of the camera accessories I like to carry with me. First would obviously have to be a quality tripod, or in a tree stand, a tree camera arm to mount my main camera to. Next, and probably my favourite piece of gear, is the GoPro Jaws. It's got a GoPro mount on one end, a clamp on the other, and it's got a flexible shaft in the middle so you can position it in any way you want, and it attaches to almost anything. I always like to carry these little flexible tripods around with me. They work really well for both GoPros and phones. We can't forget the trusty GoPro head strap. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Chuck it on your head, it films whatever you're looking at. Now that all the gear stuff's out of the way, let's get to self-filming with it. First of all, I'm going to cover how I film a spot and stalk style hunt, and then later in the video I'll cover how I film a tree stand style hunt. I like to start my videos with a bit of context, for example where I am, what species I'm hunting and how I access the area. The next lot of footage is usually hiking shots, because that's how you get anywhere when you're hunting, and I feel like it's important to highlight that fact. When filming hiking shots, I like to place my camera on the ground, in a tree, on a selfie stick, or simply hold it in my hand and capture the footage that way. I like to include plenty of scenic shots just to highlight the features and topography of the land that I'm hunting in. For filming scenic shots, a slow panning shot or a slow zoom shot is my preferred method of capture. I think it's important to show the process of spotting animals as well, so I like to film my vantage points and all my glassing. When I've spotted an animal, before I even think about my stalk, I like to get footage of the animal just doing its natural thing. Not just for the sake of the video, but I enjoy watching an animal's movement and learning from their behaviour. Also, who doesn't love plenty of animal footage? Now for the fun bit, the stalk. Self-filming while stalking is obviously the hardest part of the entire hunt. Not only because you're trying to get an opportunity to take a shot at the animal, but you have to carry a camera or cameras in with you and get them set up before you can even think about making a shot. Sometimes you even have to make multiple stalks to get cameras set up in different areas, which can be very challenging. I find having a GoPro mounted to your bow or gun can capture some neat angles of the stalk. Also, having multiple cameras allows you to leave cameras along the path of the stalk and come back for them after the stalk is over. Now for the part I'm sure everyone's been waiting for, capturing the kill shot. Setting up to capture the kill shot requires an unavoidable amount of movement, so it's imperative you find somewhere with enough cover so that you can get everything set up that you need to set up before you make your shot. As for camera placement, I like to have my main camera focused on the animal, a GoPro focused on myself, and another on my head or focused on my weapon. A lot of the time I have a GoPro Max mounted to my bow. Being a 360 camera, it can capture both myself, my bow's actions, and what's happening in front of the bow. I like the main focus of my main camera to be the point of impact of the arrow or bullet. The GoPro facing myself is to capture my actions and real-time emotions of the shot. After you've made your shot, sometimes a walk-up shot is a nice addition to your video, which is essentially filming yourself approaching the downed animal. This requires a little preparation and camera placement, but not too much messing around that it negates from the real emotions of the moment. Next is the part that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, and that's the grip and grin, which is just you posing with your kill running through what happened during the stalk and subsequent shot. A lot of people like to finish their videos at this point. Personally, I like to film the field prep and carry out of the animal, as it adds to the authenticity of the video and experience of the hunt by portraying the full story, because as they say, once you've made your shot, the hard work begins. These shots really just highlight the processing of the animal, such as gutting and quartering, and subsequent packing or carrying out. I like to think this shows respect, not just for the animal, but the meat it provides and the story behind it. Now for filming your tree stand hunt. The beauty of filming from a tree stand is, a lot of the setup of the cameras is done hours, sometimes days in advance. However, I still think it's a good idea to show the things that happen prior to getting in the stand, such as scouting an area, potential game camera footage, even footage of mounting your tree stand can add to the backstory of the hunt. Personally, I like to use a lot of cameras when it comes to hunting from a tree stand, so I can get plenty of angles and decide on the best shots to use in the finished video. While this might sound like a lot will be going on, it's not that difficult. I like to use at least 2 game cameras set up viewing my shooting lane. Since these are motion activated, you don't have to worry about hitting record when the time comes. You just have to make sure that the animal is in view of these cameras before making your shot. Up in the tree with me, I have my main camera on a camera arm that attaches to the tree. Tree camera arms are a must for anyone filming from a tree stand. They move very freely and in almost any direction you need, so they make framing the animal in the camera shot incredibly easy. Also in the tree, I like to have at least 2 GoPro cameras. If you use the GoPro Jaws mount, you can get some really cool angles. I see in a lot of tree stand hunt videos a GoPro mounted high and behind the hunter. While this gives a cool perspective, I feel like this is a very overused shot. Also, it must be incredibly difficult and require a lot of movement to hit record when the time comes. One thing to keep in mind is if you keep your GoPro cameras running all the time, the batteries will drain incredibly fast. And while leaving them on standby will save you a bit of juice, I prefer to use the quick capture setting on the GoPro, which allows you to just hit the record button on the GoPro and it will power up and start recording at the same time. As long as the cameras aren't out of arm's reach, this saves you a lot of time and unnecessary movement. Personally, I think the biggest part of filming from a tree stand comes down to using your ears rather than your eyes. The reason for this is quite simply, if you wait to see the animal before you start getting your cameras ready, the animal will catch your movement and exit the area before you can make your shot or potentially even get footage of the animal. To combat this, use your ears as your primary hunting tool. As soon as you hear what could be an animal moving into your area, start getting your cameras ready. So that way they're all rolling and you're back in a settled position when the animal moves its way into your shooting lane. After you've made your shot, the next is the same with any other hunt, which is the grip and grin, followed by field prep and processing, and then the subsequent carry out, which were all discussed earlier in this video. The most important thing with self-filming is to get creative and not fall into the trap of using the same camera shots every time. There's an almost infinite amount of possibilities for really cool and unique camera shots, so just have fun with it. A big thing to remember is don't worry about filming too much. The more you can capture, the better, because you can always edit out footage you don't want, but you can't add in footage you don't have. A good rule of thumb for creating a hunting video is if it didn't happen on film, it didn't happen. What I mean by this is if you didn't capture it on camera, don't acknowledge its existence. Because let's face it, we watch videos to see footage, not hear stories. I guess this about wraps up the video, so feel free to drop any questions or let me know of things you think I might have missed and I'll do my best to answer them. But other than that, yeah, just get out there, have fun with it and capture yourself some cool footage.